Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our weekly installment of the Florida Staffing Association's webinar collection in a socially distanced world. I'm Sean Weaver, and I'm one of the board members on the Florida Staffing Association, and I'm also service manager for creative staffing. And as we do every week, we are bringing you up-to-date information on what's going on in our industry, what everybody wants to know, and just checking in with you guys. How's everybody doing? I hope everybody had a wonderful long holiday weekend, whatever that looked like. Hopefully everybody stayed safe. And again, we are going to continue with these weekly installments. And you can definitely go to our website to check out everything that's coming up. And we'll also be sending out emails to check out for that. So today, I am excited to have Tim Woodham with Aviante with us today. He's big supporter of FSA, big supporter of our FSA socials. Good to see you again. Unfortunately, I wish it was in person this time. And for those of you who don't know, Aviante applicant tracking software, and he's talking today about what does it look like nowadays as far as closing deals. Obviously, on both the recruiting and sales standpoint, things are different, obviously. We're forced to do things that we haven't done before. We're supposed to pivot a little to maybe do both. So what does that look like? What are some things that we can use our applicant tracking software for to help us cope with this ever-changing industry? And he's going to go over some pointers. And I just want to also put it out there that these tricks and tools that he's going to give you will basically be useful for any applicant tracking or CRM that you are currently using if it's not Aviante. So Tim, welcome. Thank you so much for being here with us. Once he's done with his presentation, we are going to have time for Q&A. So I ask that everybody, as the presentation goes on, go ahead and put your questions in the chat box, and we'll get to them at the end of the presentation. So I'm going to kick it over to you, Tim.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Sean. And thank you, Florida Staffing Association, for having me here. I've been a longtime supporter and an advocate for what the Florida Staffing Association does for those of us in the industry. And coming from the industry and now being in a different role as a supplier, has definitely put a different lens on things, but I'm still in the industry that I love and care about so much. So thank you everyone for taking the time out to join us today, and we'll go ahead and get started. So you know, one of actually the name of our solution is Aviante Bold. So you should be seeing this bright, bold pink color in front of you. So there's no doubt about what what we're called. So today we're going to be talking about closing deals in a socially distant world, and it's I toyed with the title of trying to say, should it be closing deals in the new abnormal, or all those things that we're hearing so much in today's society. And bottom line is just everyone has, just like Sean indicated, has had to step into roles that are outside of their comfort zone, has to take on different responsibilities. And a lot of that I've been there for. So getting started, today what we're going to talk about is a little bit about my background, and just telling you kind of, why I'm here talking to you about this, what it looks like to really make that transition from recruiting to sales. And a lot of us get hung up on hearing, oh, you have to sell. Oh boy, what do I do? So how do we get past that? And the keys to that are really in the following four. So preparation, first and foremost, next being execution, then follow up, and then for not only for the individual contributors that might be on the call today, but also for the leaders of the organizations that are out there, for the managers, the owners, talking about evaluation and looking at ways to ensure that you're being effective at what it is that you're trying to, what your goals are, what you're trying to meet. So moving forward, this is me few years ago, pre-gray hair on the face, but I guess that's what selling software will do to you. So I've spent the last 9 years of my career in staffing and recruiting, starting in a clerical light industrial role in a full desk capacity. I will never forget my first day. I was actually sat in a room, a conference room with a phone and a list of names and said, here you go, start calling. And I said, what have I gotten myself into? And here I am 9 years later, actually 10 years later now, and still in the industry and just as passionate about it today as I was then. Started in a full desk role, so I was working on both sides of the desk in sales and in recruiting. Won top producer awards in Florida, in Texas, in DC, in multiple different areas. I'm really, really passionate about this industry because this is one of those that you either really love it or you really don't love it. And the reason behind that is just that, you know, there's a deep desire to help others. And we're in a very, very unique place that we're able to help people in a way that no other industry really does. And people take so much pride in their job, and we have the ability to help them find that. And especially now, right now, with everything that's happening in our society and out in the country, with everything that's going on, you know, we can be the person with the empathy and the sympathy and the ones that are there to help them make a change and to help them get back to it. The majority of my experience has been in clerical, accounting and finance, high volume, and in direct hire, basically just about everything but IT. So, but I can speak the language. So getting started. This is the biggest key, and I think that above all else, I know that I was guilty of it, and you know, so many people that I worked with are guilty of not taking that time the day before you're getting ready to burn the phones up and taking the time to actually do some preparation, to do some research, and to dig in. And so, you know, that first bullet there, who's actively hiring and when are their peak seasons? So I wanted to tell you a quick story about one of my first kind of faux pas, if you will, where this really came into play. Excuse me. So I was calling on TruGreen, and a lot of you that are here in Florida know that TruGreen is a lawn treatment place. So I just assumed that the summer was the best time to call them because that's when they were going to be the busiest. Well, I called and I couldn't get to anybody, and then the people that I finally got to somebody after, I don't know, probably 10 or 12 different calls, and they said, oh, we've already got three agencies we're working with. We've already hired 150 temps, and we're good to go for the season. And I was so frustrated, so beside myself, and saying, okay, well, I knew it was the season, but what I didn't know, and I didn't know this until after the fact, was that you need to think ahead. You need to think about 2 months ahead of what that season is going to be, to start laying the groundwork, to get the contracts in place, because all of those things had to be done, because by the time they start ramping up, you need to have done the legwork to be able to really be able to ramp up with them and have everything in place. So all they have to do is call you up and say, I need 50 people, and start interviewing and make that happen. So long story short, the next year, trust me, I was calling in like January or February, and we managed to land that account. So that definitely helped out. What companies are active on social media sites? So I think this, above all else, is our key indicator of where we're going and which companies we should really be targeting. But, you know, we all spend so much time on our LinkedIn. I know that actually that's usually the first tab that I open on my Chrome browser every day is LinkedIn, just to see who's active and who's posting. So those are the folks that I'm going to be calling first. Those are the ones that I see are active, and I see I'm much more likely to be able to reach out to them. Where are you finding your leads? Are you taking the time to dig in and utilize resources that are kind of outside of the box, and being able to look at those and say, you know, are these qualified leads? Is this person indeed a decision maker? Is this person the one that you can really reach out to and can say yes or no? And then, long story short, what is your value proposition? Do you know your why? Why are you calling them? What's the purpose behind it? And calling with a purpose. You know, we've all had those, especially if you're switching from recruiter to sales. You've got that candidate. We used to call them MPCs, our most placeable candidates, and those people that are sitting across from you, and you're like, man, why are you not working? I've got to find a job for you. You're fantastic. And knowing what that value is, and knowing that you have the answer to their problems. You know, some of these clients have gone through a furlough, have gone through a layoff, things like that, and the folks that they furloughed have found other employment. So now that they're starting to turn back, it's time to really show your value and be in the right place at the right time. And you only do that through preparation and through being prepared to answer those calls when the time comes. So a few of the data sources that I've learned about over the years that I was really not familiar with until I started getting into this, and this is all about leveraging technology. So I used to know it as Discover.org. I'm probably dating myself here now. ZoomInfo is a huge one. You can find out what's going on with your leads. You can look into them and see, hey, you know, what tendencies are they making? Did they just get an injection of capital? Anything that's happening with those organizations that are on your target list, which we'll get to here in just a minute. Owler is another one. If you're not familiar with Owler, if you're not subscribed to get their daily updates, I strongly, strongly recommend it. There's a couple of reasons, because Owler is it's a crowdsourcing data. It compiles data that has been brought from multiple sites. You can actually bring your company's name up as well. You can compare when you're looking at applicant tracking systems, whenever you're looking at Aviante and others, you can compare those side by side and see all of the different things that have been crowdsourced, and it's data that's been brought forth, and you can share it to your social media, because the idea is the more information that you can get out there, the better. So you don't have to necessarily be the creator of the data. You have to be the curator of this information. So the more information that you share, the more likely it is that people are going to see your information shared on social media. So Slintel, Feedly, Crunchbase, those are all very, very similar. They're direct competitors with Owler. And obviously LinkedIn Sales Navigator, most people on this call, I'm sure, are familiar with LinkedIn. So we will be sharing this slide deck after today's call. So just so you know, if you want to look those up. But I strongly recommend that you take this information, because it's going to help you to continue to keep your name known out in the marketplace, because the marketplace has gone virtual, and with social distancing and with us, you know, I personally was the type that liked to drop in and drop off some swag and use that as the way that I'm helping to open a door. And that's not working now. That's not the world that we're in right now. So the way that you keep your name fresh and front and center, and know when it's time, when their time comes that they're going to call you, is that you're sharing all of this data, and you're sharing it directly from those sites. So continuing on with preparation, it's knowing who are your buyers. So if you've taken that time and you've really looked into different org charts, and you've looked into all these different sites and found out who are you supposed to be calling, and then when should you be reaching out? You know, like we talked about with that story with the with knowing what seasons you're supposed to call somebody. If it's a Christmas place, you want to probably start calling them in July is what I would recommend. But above all else is keeping track of all of your interactions. So that's where your CRM really, really comes in play, as well as your task list. So the majority of just like Sean alluded to, obviously I'm coming from an Aviante lens. So, but the majority of the ATS CRM systems out there have a way for you to document everything. And whatever system I've used over the years, if it didn't happen in the system, it didn't happen. I know everybody knows those statements. So are you tracking all those interactions? Because one of the last things that you want to do is if they have a kid named John and you reach out and you call him George, they're probably going to say, okay, he wasn't really paying attention. Or you don't want to call somebody that someone else from your firm has been calling. So it's about finding those interactions and making sure that you're keeping up with, where are these individuals and who are you reaching out to? And then finally, do you have a well-developed target list? So a target list meaning, these are the individuals that are buyers. They've used before. They've used staffing agencies in some way, shape, or form. You've gotten that intel from someone, down the road at some different area. And the recommendation, and this is something that I've found to be very, very helpful, is to pick 5 accounts once a month that you dig in really, really deeply and fully update and decide if you should even really continue to pursue them. Are they worth the effort? Are they worth the, continued going after them? Are they going to eventually become a buyer? And are they someone that, is worth your time in going after them? So once you've done all that preparation and you've done the research and you've set up your task list and you've got your target list ready to go, it's time to execute. Well, the challenge now is that you can't just dial their main number, because if you guys are like me, when I'm calling in, I'm ending up in some generic voicemail somewhere that may or may not get answered because it may or may not be going to the right place. Who knows if they have their phones forwarded, whatnot, because everybody's working from home. So there are a couple of things that I'd strongly recommend, and it's knowing what your message is and being able to understand what your clients are looking for. And you've done that because you're able to take the technology that we've talked about with the crowdsourced information, and that type of knowledge, and transferring that into an email or a phone message into your voicemail. So via email, everyone fights over this. I know my internal struggles with emails and subject lines. My gosh, it takes me forever. It takes me longer to come up with a subject line than it does the content. But funny enough, if you Google top business email subject lines of 2020, you're actually going to find some really good ones. But in addition to that, by using those resources that I talked about, you're able to grab their attention in their subject line by saying your recent funding, your recent acquisition, your recent fill in the blank, whatever that blank may be, because you've done your research. And guess what? That grabs their attention. And it makes them say, oh, they've actually paid attention. They kind of have an idea of what's going on. Your introduction, making sure that there's targeted interests, the body of it, making sure that it's connected to your value proposition, that you have this phenomenal candidate, or you have, whatever your value proposition is, and making sure that you have that clear. And then with a clear closing, which is a call to action. And that call to action being, let's set up time for a call. Let's set up time for Zoom or Google Hangouts or whatever the virtual platform is that you're using, because I know that it's really, really difficult right now with our inability to actually see each other, to actually be physically in the same place, because 98% of all communication is done non-verbally. And without being able to do that, it's pretty difficult. So you want to make sure that you have a clear understanding of the, what you have available to you, whether it be Zoom or whatever your platform is that you and your group are using, and have a clear call to action. In addition, if you're calling and leaving a voicemail, you get the proper voicemail. You want to follow it in 4 steps: a powerful intro, the reason for the call to action, and then your contact info at the very end. Because the idea is that you want to be able to, as you know, there's quite a bit of technology out there now that is transcribing your voicemail. It's turning your voicemail into a message that can be read. And the information is coming through like a text, and you don't want them to have to scroll more than twice with their thumb. So there's 1, 2, and if there's more than 2, you're basically out. So no more than 30 seconds, which equals the 2 scrolls when it gets transcribed. And having your contact info at the end allows you to get your information across, and allows you to really get to know them, or for them to really hear what your message is and what questions that you have. So staying organized is, I think, one of the most critical pieces for success. It's knowing what your calendar is, making sure that you're managing your calendar, making sure that you're keeping up with your stats, with your open opportunities, your scoreboard, knowing where you stand. I am a huge proponent of having some clarity and knowing exactly where I stand. What do I have in front of me? What do I need to accomplish? And where do I stand in relation to everyone else? So, and the key to that success is staying organized. And you stay organized by again, documenting everything and making sure that you're leveraging your CRM or your ATS system, whatever it is that you're using in front of you, and making sure that you're using it successfully. So by taking advantage of that and by leveraging it, you can make your job so much easier, because there are systems out there that will automatically log things. So I'm going to jump into Aviante really quickly and just show you how simple in this instance this would be. So I've taken the opportunity to pull a list of just some clients in a hypothetical scenario, and let's say that this group of people, I want to send them a text message. So under my mass actions, I just I can send them an email from here, or I can send them a text message. And here I send the text message, whatever that text may be. And the texting with us, and I know there are others out there, but with us it is fully embedded to where that conversation doesn't leave the profile of that particular client. So if anything happens, say someone leaves or is out sick, you don't lose that conversation, you don't lose that connection, and you don't lose the opportunity to know what happened in those conversations. And anything that happens, if you're logging an email, if you're sending an email, sending a text, it is automatically logged in the system to where it's documented as an activity. You don't have to keep going in and out and copying and pasting, and it's all about efficiencies, because it's a numbers game. The more you reach out, the better your chances are going to be. So the more information and the more comfortable that you get with the features and functionalities of your particular technology, the more success you're going to see. So getting back to where we were, talking again about your CRM and making sure that you're really, really leveraging your CRM system. Ours has the personalized dashboards, managing your pipeline, task and activity tracking, and custom org charts. If your system doesn't have the ability to create a custom org chart, I strongly recommend that you find a way to create one for yourself. I'm a visual learner, and it really helps me to see who I'm supposed to be reaching out to and when. when I can see that in a visual representation. I can actually produce one from Aviante that shows the org chart, where people are located, who I'm reaching out to, who do they report to, so on and so forth. And keeping up with all of those activities in your task list. Again, staying organized and making sure that you're using and leveraging those resources that you have available to you. So connecting is about building trust, and this is where you start to really get the opportunity to find out the culture of the team that you're working with. So one of the features that I've come to really enjoy is the ability to send feedback forms, because those feedback forms can be customized. So every time you send a candidate out, you know, we do our best as salespeople and as recruiters when we're trying to work with especially a brand new client that we don't know and we haven't had the opportunity to go on site. The only way that we can do that is through feedback. So after every single interview, with the interview invite, making sure that there's a feedback form for them to send. So that way you can get to know them and they can get to know you better. And you're developing trust and you're developing a rapport with them, because the information that you're getting from them, you're being able to leverage as you move forward. And have they bought from you before? Well, guess what? That goes back to using your CRM. So is your CRM keeping that information up to date? And if you don't know how to use your CRM to its fullest capacity, you may not know that information. You may not know that, hey, we've sent 6 people to interview for this same position, on 2 different occasions before, and they never made a decision. So may not really be worth taking that extra effort. Any post-assignment follow-up, when assignments are done, what do you do? There are so many partners out there. There are a lot of technology resources that are available to you that can help you to follow up post-assignment, not only with the client, but also with the candidate. So what can be done to deepen the relationship? How can you get to know them? I know I personally just mailed, since I can't actually drive to my clients, I just dropped a couple of swag boxes in the mail with some small hand sanitizer with some Aviante stickers on them. So at least they can help themselves to some goodies after using some hand sanitizer. So there are creative ways to think outside the box, no pun intended for my gift box, but there are ways for you to think outside the box to still be able to get that swag and the information and your logo into their hands. And then, do you have a regular communication cadence? And what are you doing to track your opportunities? So far we've really been focused on the individual contributor, on what you can do as a recruiter, on what things are out there for you to leverage. And this is where you and your manager, or if you're a leader of an organization, this is with opportunity tracking, is something that is really a way to make data-driven decisions. And as we're moving forward, the ASA, the FSA, Aviante, there are so many different resources out there that are sending out information, talking about where things are going and out in the field, out across the country, in our region, specific to Florida, whatever the case may be. But are you tracking the opportunities internally? Do you know where you need to allocate your resources? Do you know where you stand with certain opportunities and how you should be allocating your resources? And the only way you can do that is through opportunity tracking. So this is a sample of what it would look like in our CRM. Again, looking through the lens of Aviante, but the majority of CRMs do have these functionalities where you're able to keep track of what are the projects that you're working on, what stage are they in, how much are you expecting to make from it, and what's the likelihood that it's actually going to come to fruition. So, I know so many times I was running around, especially when I first started in sales, and I was like, oh, this one's going to close, this one's going to close. And then, it's I don't know, a month later, and they finally decide on who they want to move forward with. And it's so frustrating. And here I've spent all this time and energy on one that really wasn't that likely to close. And this is also where you as a business leader can take the opportunity to look into what your salespeople and your recruiters are doing from a financial perspective. When you're looking to make those decisions about, is it time for me to bring on another recruiter? Is it time, has that time come? Are we at a point where we can say, yes, we are back to growth, or, things have flattened out for us a little bit. So I know with me, it's usually one of two things. It's either full steam ahead, where people are gung-ho and they're excited to see you and they're ready to move, or it's absolutely, how dare you call me? Why are you, what are you thinking? Why are you calling me? So by tracking your pipeline and by understanding where that pipeline's at, the only way you do that is through your CRM in an easy way. You can do this through an old folder if you need to, but the best way is through your technology, and allowing technology to really help you and to make those educated decisions. So that starts the analysis, is basically, how is your team performing for that client? And as a business leader, you need to be able to look into very quickly, how are things working for you, your organization, across the company, across the team, from an individual contributor perspective, and your systems are designed for just that. They're designed to allow you to take a look at the data that's there. Are there areas where other tech partners can be leveraged? So we'll talk here in just a moment about our business intelligence suite and things like that, where you're able to see exactly what's going on in a 360 view of your organization. And see, Cube 19 is another one. There are quite a few partners out there that can help you get the data that you need in order to make those decisions. And knowing when it's time for you to step in, maybe as an executive, for that executive presence to be on the phone to help your salespeople out. Is your cadence being effective? Guess what? The only way you know is from data, and that data is coming from your systems. And then finally, does your CRM clearly provide insights into performance? So when you're looking at a 360 view of your organization as a business leader, as a business owner, does your CRM provide clear insights into exactly what's happening with your team and with their performance? Is it something that is going to be, is it effective, or what changes need to be made? And if you need to look into something else, then you know that, because if you don't have clear visibility, you need to have it. So again, with Aviante, this is one of the options that we have, is our business intelligence platform, where you can literally slice and dice information in all kinds of ways, because it is a 360 view. And now more than ever, because I know here in the Tampa metro, in the Orlando metro, which I've been a part of, in South Florida, the Jacksonville region, there's so much competition. We are so competitive with each other that being able to set an automatic reminder just automate some reports to go out to your clients and say, this is our performance to date, this is where we are, and giving them that transparency and that clear visibility into exactly what you're doing for them and how you're performing, because they may not see it, or they may request that. So let's say you're doing some high volume recruiting and you're competing with 5 other agencies that may be much larger than you and have a different bandwidth, but you're still performing or outperforming them. And the way that you show that is through data. So continuing with that, integrated BI suite is a 360 view of your business, and it's the best way for you to really get a bird's eye view and to clearly tell what's going on with your business and how to move forward. So kind of wrapping up here, a little bit about us. I don't think my leadership would be excited about about me taking this time if I didn't take time to tell you a little bit about Aviante. We deliver business value by helping clients grow and scale. We offer one end-to-end solution. We're dedicated to innovation. One of the reasons that I love this organization is because we are client-centric. We're an ethical company with great people. We deliver on our promises, which is harder and harder to come by. Our solutions are intuitive and modern. And if you don't believe us, you can believe our users. We're close to about 1,000 users. And if you've not heard of G2, if you are looking at software, if you're looking at different technologies to incorporate into your daily life and into your operations, G2 is a phenomenal website that is not tied to any of us. We don't buy into any of this. This is all reviews that are completely unsolicited from us. And you see that we were a leader in 5 categories, and our users do indeed love us. So we've been around since 2015, and it's been quite a journey to get us to where we are, and the journey is only just beginning. So if you want to know more, coming up is our Aviante Connect conference. So this year, it is virtual and it's free. So typically our user conference is held in Minnesota. So it is a free conference every year, but you normally have travel and expenses that you would have to deal with. So this year, if you're curious about Aviante, excuse me, on August 4th through the 6th, we will be having our conference. Registration will be opening pretty soon, and all of our contact information will be listed in the slide deck that I'm going to be sending out. And but it's packed full of information, some fun, some entertainment, and you can pick which ones you're going to attend, and just block out 45 minutes of your time to attend something that may be of interest to you, an opportunity to network with other people that are currently using our system, and unsolicited from us, you can get the information that you need. So I hope that helps in some way to alleviate some concerns that you may have, some of the fears that you may have. Guess what? Recruiting is sales, just on the other side of the desk, and they're either going to love you or hate you, and I just hope you get to have some fun with it, and hopefully technology is going to be able to help you make it a lot easier. So yeah, so that's what I've got. Sean?
Thank you so much, Tim. And I'm glad, obviously I know you would like to be hosting the Connect, obviously in person like you do every year, but I'm glad that you're able to offer it virtually, and especially free. I mean, that's a great thing that you're offering to your clients. It's another way, unfortunately, we had to pivot everything, but I'm glad that you guys were able to continue with it. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and pop them in the chat box. It looks like we have already one coming through. From Sue Goldstein. In the beginning of your presentation, you were talking about preparation. You said that there are resources outside the box. Please give a few examples.
That's a great question. So, excuse me. The majority of the resources I would be referring to are online media. So outside the box would be things that are those sites that I was referring to, where you've crowdsourced the data, and the let's see if I can get it back to that slide. And there we go. The majority of it is looking at who's doing the hiring. Are you looking at job boards? Are you looking at what ads are out there? Are you looking at who's done layoffs? Are you looking at what announcements? Press releases are huge. When you're looking in the business section for whatever your business journal is for your area, whatever your neck of the woods is, and seeing what's happening, making sure that you're plugged in with those. A couple of other examples, I guess, would be insight into the industry that you gain from competitors, people that you know. Always asking questions and never being afraid to ask a question. And I think for me, it's also every time I'm on a call with a client or a prospect, I'm doing a lot more active listening and hearing what they have to say and what areas that they need to focus on, because those are things that I'm going to add to my task list as a follow-up. So let's say, their busy season is in Q4 and it's Q1. Well, I need to add something to my task list to say that I need to call them back in Q3 so we can lay that groundwork. So it's leveraging the tools that you have, the tools that are available to you, and the data that's been crowdsourced out there, knowing your buyer personas and utilizing things like a ZoomInfo or Discover or Owl or things along those lines. There's so much out there that are free resources that I highly recommend before you take advantage of anything that's paid.
Perfect. She says, excellent, thank you.
Oh, good.
And I know you touched on this a little, but I had another question that come through. What advice do you have for firms trying to diversify their book of business?
That's a great question, and very, very timely, because I know a lot of folks that I'm speaking with today are, say they were in hospitality or an industry that has just been hit so hard by all of this. It is critical to diversify. And when I say diversify, I mean, stretch to try different things, see what works, see what bandwidth you have, and tap into the resources that you have in your people. And I think oftentimes as leaders, I know as a former leader myself, when I was, I was leading a team, and when I had those questions of which direction to go next, well, now I'm asking a recruiter to step into a sales role. Well, then I should probably ask that recruiter, what do you know? What are you comfortable with? You were an accountant? Oh, well, guess what? Now let's start talking accounting. What language are you talking? Are you comfortable speaking about, obviously following within your workers' comp guidelines, but making sure that you can pivot within the, what you come from an HR background. Well, let's look at HR. Let's see what's out there, what's in demand, and then give it a try and see what happens, because you could find a gap. And I think with preparation and some good timing, a lot of wonderful things happen that are unexpected. And I think it all comes from your people and your technology. When those two mix, the sky's the limit. So that would be a firm recommendation for me.
Okay, perfect, right. And this is more of a question to you personally. I mean, obviously, I'm sure this is a long list, but what is the most challenging thing about selling that during this quarantine that you've encountered or had to overcome?
Oh my gosh, this is a great one.
It's a long list.
Where do I start? So as number one, as an extrovert, the ability to, I love the networking events and trade shows and all of those great things like the FSA Summit. I was so pumped about that this year, and then here we go. So it is, just accepting the reality of where we are now, I think, is probably the most difficult piece for me. And switching to, changing my mind and changing my mindset into, really, we truly do have to rely on technology. And I think, if anything, it's been a real awakening for a lot of people that there are a lot more jobs that can be done virtually than we realized. And it's because it had to be done. So it's definitely one of those situations that, excuse me, there's just a lot of change. There's
Mhm.
there's a lot of transition and a lot of things that are happening in the world today. And I'm not a huge fan of change. I like knowing what my routine is, and everyone is being stretched and being able to adapt and keep that elasticity.
Perfect. Okay, we have several questions coming through.
Okay.
Just scroll up here. What would you recommend we contact when marketing services directly to staffing companies?
Can you say that one more time?
Who would you recommend we contact, I'm assuming with marketing services directly to staffing companies? It's not really quite sure.
Not quite sure I understand the question. If you're marketing services directly to staffing companies. So for example, if it sounds like maybe it's someone like myself as a supplier reaching out. Is that how you would kind of understand it, you think?
Yeah.
From what I hear?
Yeah, just.
Okay. I think for me,
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. So for me, it's knowing the industry. Hearing people can hear the smile in your voice. People can hear the excitement in your voice when you believe in what it is that you're marketing. When you believe in your product, service, solution, whatever insert title here, whatever that may be, people can hear that. And when you're reaching out, I rarely start at the C level, just unless it's obviously a small company. But if it's a medium to large company, I typically will start because the way that you build information in your CRM and the way that you're able to leverage that technology down the road is by gaining intel. And you're really much more likely to get intel from getting to know how the operation works. And a lot of times a senior executive is not going to really be able to help you with that. So there's tons of ways that you can market, but it's basically the same stuff that we've been talking about, just in reverse. You're still talking to the same people. So not going to give away my secrets though.
Another question that came through: do you recommend and/or have information on video embedded messages in an email? And if so, suggestions? Which is a great question, because now everything is video. I mean, everybody's clicking on videos, and it's a huge thing.
That is a great question, and a very, very common theme that's resonating. There are several ways. I don't have a really strong recommendation off the top of my head for immediate ways. I do know, obviously, Aviante. I can speak for us. We do have video interviews. You can record video interviews, so you can do kind of snippets and send those along with your submittals for your candidates. You can, with our job postings, you can actually include a video job description, which is becoming more and more popular these days, where you're talking about, I see them on LinkedIn all the time. I think they're the coolest things. When instead of just reading the job description, you're actually listening to someone talk about what their hot job is and why is it a hot job? Why is that job on fire? Why are they so eager to get it filled? And they give you that extra stuff you're not going to get in a job description. So as far as embedding messages, I'm going to start with Aviante, and shameless plug. But and then beyond that, there are, of course, their names are escaping me, but there are two or three more out there that are really geared to speak to whoever your ATS CRM vendor is. I would really start with their marketplace and see who's embedded with their systems. And each of us, for example, the Aviante marketplace, we have partners. We have more than 60 plus solution partners that are already, we've vetted them. They work perfectly with our systems, and they're they're designed specifically to work with our software. So whatever software platform you're on is where I would start that search, and then reach out from there.
And are you also able to embed these videos in email, or strictly through the CRM?
Nope, you can attach them to an email.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Okay, great. Okay, our next question is from Tanya. Aside from LinkedIn, do you use other social media platforms as tools to connect with hiring managers, etc.? If so, which ones?
So aside from the obvious of LinkedIn, honestly, for me, just me personally, that's where I've found the most success, simply because that's why people are there. It's they're on LinkedIn in a professional capacity, or at least I would hope. That's what it's intended for, and they're expecting the networking and to be reached out to. And I've found it for me personally, keeping things like Facebook and things like that personal, different, keeping those separate unless you have a professional account. And then if that's the situation, obviously keeping up you want to follow people on Twitter. You want to keep up with what types of things they're tweeting out. What do they have going on? That's another way for you to lay some more groundwork for your foundation, for that research that you're doing and in your preparation. Is what are they tweeting about? What's going on their Instagram? What's going on their social media sites, and following them, and then just making sure it's in an appropriate venue and making sure that you're continuing down that appropriate path.
Right. I have noticed that especially a lot of the bigger companies, they have gone into Instagram pages, obviously just for the company, but you also just have to figure out who is running that, because typically it's not the hiring managers that are running those company Instagram accounts. Usually it's either their social media manager or some HR. But I've noticed that a lot of bigger companies, especially even smaller companies, are pretty prevalent on Instagram now as well.
Absolutely. And it's all about increasing your digital footprint. It's
Right.
about, when somebody Googles a staffing agency for manufacturing, staffing agency for CNAs, staffing agency for, whatever it is that your specialty is, the more digital content that you have out there, the more likely you are to be found.
Right. We have another question come through. What do you see as a typical sales cycle in the staffing industry from open to close? Good question.
The typical sales cycle in staffing?
Mhm.
So
Definitely.
from my experience, just thinking back to my days, it was about building a relationship that can take anywhere from immediate to long-term, just depending on the client, depending on the scenario, and depending on the urgency of their need. And going through the negotiation phase, again, it's client-centric. This is also at the level of your organization. So, for example, within Aviante, when we're tracking opportunities, you can have 12 steps or you can have 3 steps. It's up to you. It depends on your organization, the way that things are laid out. But for me, it's about relationship building, negotiation, and then getting the contract signed, then working on the orders, and then filling the orders and closing out the deals. So it's pretty much like 5 or 6 steps in there, but obviously there are differences and if things need to happen at different times in order to go through an approval process, if there's RFPs. So every client's a little different, but I think from start to finish, it's about build a relationship, close the deal, continue building the relationship, and close more deals.
Wonderful. Okay, I think we reached everything.
Okay.
Perfect. Tim, thank you so much. And everybody, thank you again for spending your Wednesday with us. We're going to be here next week. And as Tim mentioned, we will be sending out the slides from today's presentation. And feel free to reach out to us. We've covered a lot of topics over the past 11 to 12 weeks here, but obviously there's more information coming out on a daily basis. So if there is something particular you want to hear from us or a webinar that you want us to present, please reach out to us. You can definitely email us, reach us out on all of our social media accounts. And Tim, I can't wait until we can pick these socials up in person and I get to see you again. And truthfully, and again, I'm just as disappointed as in our FSA Summit not being able to, but that just means that next year it's going to be doubly, triply.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much for the information. Thank you all for being here with us today. And I hope you guys have a great rest of the week.
Right. Thanks, everybody.
Take care.